Today's sponsor is Audible.com, who has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free audiobook of your choice at audibletrial.com/CA Telecast. This month, we're recommending The Disaster Artist, My Life Inside the Room, the greatest bad movie ever made, by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell.
Greetings, travelers. My name is Nick Murphy.
And my name is Satchell Drakes.
And welcome to the Cinephilia Anonymous Telecast. We're going to take you on an interstellar adventure through the darkest corners of your mind to unlock your hidden passion for cinema.
Dude, how's it going?
I'm great, man. How have you been?
I've been doing well. You know, I'm really glad that we're kind of recording this again. I was at UCB.
What?
Just a couple weeks ago. Went for this like late night comedy night. It was totally just like an impromptu thing to kind of like fill up the evening with something to do.
Yeah.
And I was coming out of a show with JP, and there was this random kid who like kind of looked at me funny, and I was like, should I know who you are? And then he's like, are you Satchell? And then I was like, yeah. And then he's like, dude, like I love Cinephilia Anonymous.
Whoa.
Like it inspired me to move out here and take film classes. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to tell you. I was just like, whoa, that's so tight.
Damn, that's awesome.
I know. That was like really cool.
Oh, man. I love like running into people like that. When we were at that convention,
there were so many people who were like super into the show. Yeah.
Yeah, man. We're doing it.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad we're getting back into it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. How was UCB? I always wanted to go there. I've never been. Dude,
it's good. The next time you kind of catch a moment in life, or when you're up here, we'll go. It's it's varying. Every night they have a bunch of stuff going on. Like I feel like almost every hour and a half there's like a new kind of thing happening.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's ranging from like stand up to like improv, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, always generally like a really good time. Very talented people.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the Upright Citizens Brigade show when I was a kid, and then I had like a shirt that I bought from them, and like people would be like, "Yo, UCB!" I'm like, I know, I want to go so bad. I feel like a poser because I haven't, but I'm just a fan of what they do.
There used to be people that will go down to Philly and do shows all the time.
Yeah,
I remember when I was like had a short stint and I was like kind of like dating both in New York and Philly. I would always look up stuff, and there would be stuff like going on down there, like the same show. They'd bring it down. So,
oh, that's cool. Yeah, we have a good comedy scene kind of happening here. You went to that comedy theater we did that live show at.
That was so cool. That was such a cool space. What space was that again?
It's called Good Comedy, and they do.
Yeah, that's right.
They do stuff like every day of the week, and then a few times in the year they'll do like a $5 comedy thing where you pay $5 and you get like a bunch of shows that you can go to. It's real cheap, really affordable. It's just a cool, fun, goofy time. We always have a good time whenever we go.
That's cool. Yeah, the space was really nice, and like the staff was like super. Everyone just seemed super chill.
Yeah,
it was like
really fun.
A really great night. How do you even like I don't know if you can share it on air, but like how do you even if you like when you guys were like pitching your show, like what kind of stuff do you have to bring to the table? Like I guess you like share, I don't know how like the kind of pull you have or something like that. Like how do you do with openings?
For us, I mean, it's very much it sounds so corny, but it was like a who you know kind of thing. So we have become friends with the sketch duo, the incredible Matt and Jackie. The Incredible Shrinking Matt and Jackie is their
that's perfect.
Their stage name. Yeah, they're great. So they're this comedy duo.
Carnival situation.
They're so good. They're so much fun to work with. They've been in a few of our sketches. They were in our Star Wars thing, and then by going to their shows, we met the owners of Good, and then we kind of became friends with them from just seeing them at these different comedy shows. And then they were in the process of opening this theater because they would put on shows at other theaters, and then they were like, no, we need a dedicated space. So they did like Kickstarter and started that space. And then we just developed a relationship with them. And they were like, if you guys ever want to use our theater for any of your stuff, like, more than welcome to. And we're like, oh, that'd be cool to do like a podcast or something. And
That's
then they were
perfect.
like, yeah, you could do a podcast. They're like, you guys, I think she's like, Kate who runs it was like, I think you guys could do like a live show. You guys would have like a great time doing like a live show. So we were like, oh yeah, that would be fun if we did like.
And you killed it. Gosh darn it.
We were all right.
Nah, it was great, man. It was like, I remember it was just like magical. And like, I just came out like so proud of you guys and so like happy to just see like a really great compendium of stuff going on. Like it must have felt like a milestone in a kind of way, putting together your work.
We really like hustled to kind of get everything together. We filmed, I think 3 sketches just for that. We're going to put them out in the next like month or 2.
Great. Finally, everyone else gets to see it. That's cool.
Yeah. So we're going to do all that. And then like we wrote like little bits, specifically for him. We like rehearsed it like 15 times. It was cool, man. I never really considered myself a live performer. But doing that, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I could be all right at this. This is interesting. This is a different set of skills I'm going to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a good time. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, lots of smart jokes. It actually felt like one really long smart joke. Like it felt like one really nice, like subversive, cerebral. It was kind of like a joke within a joke. If I'm honest, which I love so much about it because I can't. My favorite part about the way you guys sort of like write together is honestly it takes away trying to put words to exactly what it is, and that's not a cop out. Like I genuinely feel that way.
Yeah, we have this tendency to kind of like build on each other to the point of just, okay, we need to stop now. Oh, man. Good. What's been happening with you, man? What have you been up to?
Oh, dude, I've been chilling out. So a couple years ago, myself and 3 other friends, YouTubers, we put together this kind of 90s style boy band comprised of video game villains.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I saw it.
Yeah, so we put out an album back a while ago, and it ended up doing really well, making number 2 on billboards under comedy, and like we had like a single that like over time went platinum, and it was like, whoa, was not expecting all that to happen. We decided we wanted to put out a vinyl to just, I guess, sort of commemorate all that, but then also I think it was also just something we had in the pipeline, but we weren't necessarily able to fulfill just yet. And we put together a music video to sort of remind people about the tracks that we did, but also just because why the hell not make a really fun music video? And it's about cooking eggs in sweet memory of our favorite villain, Dr. Eggman.
You guys do such a good job with it. It's cool because it has like that cooking show style, but then it reminded me of like a Beastie Boys video, which I like love. You guys use like this like wide angle lens a lot for like these like cut-ins. It's really well done.
Dude, I love that comparison. Dude, that's so flattering. Yeah.
So
the director Aaron Umetani, he is like, not only is he just an amazing guy who I've sort of been admiring from afar for years, but also I was really excited on the day of the shoot because working with him was spectacular. First of all, he's one of the most organized people I know. Like he walks around with his like a remarkable pad, like it's sort of like the e-ink tablet that you can write on or whatever. And he just goes bam, 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 bam through each shot. And he's super encouraging and very descriptive, like for what he's looking for. So
yeah,
it was cool. There was actually in YouTube's sort of infancy, I guess, sort of in the heyday of YouTube, there was this network called the Game Station that did a lot of video game type content, and they had this mini series, this high budget for YouTube high budget miniseries called The Street Fighter. Mm-hmm. It was my favorite thing on the internet as an ode to video games. And I found out actually on set, I brought it up and he was like, oh yeah, that was a lot of fun to work on. And I was like, oh my goodness, you put that together. I'm dying. Like,
oh dude, that's crazy.
It was so good. So anyone in podcast land who's watched that, it's that dude. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Like you guys had it's like super good production value. Where did you guys shoot it at?
So I flew out to LA, where almost everybody else was, mm-hmm. and we went to, my goodness, what's it called? So for people from California, it was about an hour away from LA proper,
okay.
Where the Six Flags is.
Okay.
It rhymes with Pomona. I'm not entirely sure, but it was actually at the studio that we recorded the album. So the producer that we work with, Jake Kauffman, who's just this musical genius, and very well known in the video game world for putting together like Shovel Knight and Double Dragon. He at the time he was just sort of like really good friends and kind of partners with the owner of the space, and was, you know, working on his projects there. But over time, he ended up actually owning a piece of the space, or owning all of the space. Oh, wow. And it turns out in the back of it was this area that was sort of like a real culinary art studio. Like it was a kitchen that I guess people would go to for workshops or whatever. Yeah. And they were like, well, I mean, if you're going to do a video about cooking eggs, like you can just use that. Like we still have it. We haven't changed it or anything. People just use it as their kitchen for like lunch, you know?
Damn,
so
that's awesome.
So it was really perfect. And I'm sure it saved a ton of money with regards to just like putting out dollars and stuff.
Yeah,
like
dude, because it looked like a cooking show set. Like I know Gerard knows a couple of like those like YouTube cooking people. I didn't know if like he like commandeered one of their sets, but it looked like a set from a show. It was so well done.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's because it was
like
cool.
Super good dance moves. Did you guys get a choreographer, or did you just bust those out?
It's a mix of the two. The stuff where we're dancing on ourselves, that's just us. Like they had like 30 minutes where they were just like, we're gonna roll the camera, just dance.
Oh, okay.
And I guess, you know, for filler, right? And then also, the night before, we were dancing till like maybe 1 or 2 a.m. We had a samba instructor.
Yeah.
Who choreographed a whole team dance. So when you see all three of us on camera, we spent a few hours late at night sort of learning that and doing that. And that was a lot of fun and a very new experience.
Yeah, dude, that's
for lack
awesome.
of better words. What I'll say is I'm glad that we were with Aaron Umetani because I knew that he would be able to save our destruction of this beautiful dance routine that somebody who knows what they're doing put together.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the way it's kind of like hypercut, like that's like a super compliment because it's like the editing is like super on point in it. But like, and at any point if like one of the three, I know you guys like aren't professional dancers, so like at any point if anyone gets like off rhythm, you just like cut away and it just like looks like you're still going. Like
they cut away, or like they shot in 4K, so they'll jump in and like show our upper bodies because that might be in sync and our feet might not be. You only notice it when you know what was a mess.
No way.
But yeah.
No, I did not pick that up at all. I was just like, that would be a way for me to like get out of a jam. Like if I was like, all right, if me, Paul, and Josh have to shoot like a dance scene, I'd be like, okay, we'll just like edit the shit out of it. So in case any of us probably would get off beat, we'll just use that. Use editing to get out of that jam. That's great.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, nice job, man. Dude, we've been a busy bit of filmmakers recently. You put something on Instagram the other day. Was it yesterday? It was
Maybe?
like these papers against a wall.
Oh, yeah.
Is that another film project you're working on?
No, that's not film. It was just for photography.
Okay.
There's this band who they're doing this album cover they're doing a concept album that's based on this story, this fictional story they put together about this guy who writes all these journals and about this woman he loved or whatever. So, for the scene, we sort of had like a brainstorming session, and I thought it'd be a cool idea to spend an exorbitant amount of time, buy a bunch of composition books and write like song lyrics and notes about whatever, about what the album was about, and then rip all the pages out and tape them along a wall, along the floor, and then kind of photograph the band members in the space.
Damn, that's cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I love that stuff. Let's jump into The Disaster Artist.
Yeah, dude, this feels like a part 2 of
it kind of is
of our room. Yeah,
it's kind of nice. It's nice to revisit that. So here's just some like kind of like basic info. Disaster Artist was directed by James Franco. The screenplay was written by Scott Neustadter and Michael Weber. It's based on The Disaster Artist, the book, by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell. And it's produced by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Obviously starring James Franco, Dave Franco, Seth Rogen, and a whole host of other incredible people. It won a Golden Globe for Best Actor, James Franco, and it was nominated for Best Picture for a Golden Globe and Best Adapted Screenplay at the Academy Awards. And I think Franco won a I don't know if he won. I think he just was nominated for a Screen Actors Guild award.
Such a decorated record. Do you have any particular feelings about just how decorated this film is?
Yeah, you know what? I saw it in theaters, and I was really excited at how good it was and how much I enjoyed it. And then by the end of it, I saw it with my wife, and we walked out, and her immediate thing was like, yo, James Franco should win an Oscar for this. And I was like, yeah, I'm so surprised, like, how good he was in this. It was jaw-dropping. And I wasn't sure if that was just because we had watched The Room and we're familiar with it, or if someone who had no idea what The Room was and just watched this, if they would still think that, if they would just think
I kept wondering that too. Like, could I go into this blind and be like, whoa, this is great. This moves me to want to see The Room.
Yeah. I wonder if someone who isn't aware of The Room would watch it and just think that it's so ridiculous. Like, that's just, they did goofy shit for the sake of doing goofy shit, when in reality, it's like a real thing that people have been analyzing for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your like initial reaction like coming out of it? What did you think when kind of the credits rolled and everything ended?
I thought a lot of things. I never for myself pieced together a grand narrative of how Tommy Wiseau became who he is. Mm-hmm. Like, not with regards to like notoriety or like career, but like sort of like the emotional movements or growth in character. I never considered the production of a film like this as a coming of age story. I always saw it more as this wealthy, incredibly aloof guy who has a real problem with picking up social cues, spending his money in the way that he typically would to put together something terrible, and trying the best for the rest of his life to achieve some kind of idea of fame that he has. And which is bleak, I know, but like, I guess I never really put too much thought to it past that. This film put a really interesting lens on all of it, where it did feel like this interesting kind of growth moment where I felt for him.
Yeah.
And maybe in some ways sympathized, and in some ways, I just felt like I was walking with him a lot tighter, rather than him just sort of being this crazy guy that gave me this really funny terror bad film, you know? So in that way, and I'm speaking as somebody who read the Disaster Artist.
Oh, okay, me too. Okay, cool.
So in that way, the film actually, so I enjoyed it a lot, and I was blown away. Like, for the longest time, I always saw James Franco as a stellar supporting role. Mm-hmm. And this, for the first time, it felt like he was doing his own thing. And of course, his impressions were amazing. And there was a lot of kind of inside baseball that you can enjoy, like the 1-for-1 scene comparisons and things like that.
God,
and they're kind
at the end, it's so good.
Yeah, that self-awareness was so on point. I'd say in the beginning, my investment really ramped up when they started shooting the film, because prior to that, I don't know. So you've read The Disaster Artist as well. Mm-hmm. The lead into it felt like cherry picking like a highlight reel from the actual story in order to tell the audience, these are who these people are. Right. You know?
Right. It felt a very like cookie cutter in that sense. You know, like we've seen movies of people who, we're going to Hollywood and they said we can't do it and we're going to do it. Right. And that's literally like the first half hour to 45 minutes of this movie is just kind of setting them up for failure, and only to kind of like rise from the ashes in this weird way.
Like Mark's mother is just an idea. She's not really a character.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and same thing with like his acting coach and his like agent.
His agent, yeah.
They're just kind of there to as they're just there as like characters to just be like authority figures, to be like, you can't do this, you can't do this. Even like Judd Apatow's character, like, you should never do this. And then they're kind of like pushed away, and like they're the actors who play them are playing these cameo roles, but then the characters are also like cameos in this thing. They're just kind of like, hey, cool, see you later. I mean, and that's what's crazy about this whole thing is that those three kind of like throwaway characters are like juggernauts: Judd Apatow, Melanie Griffith, and Sharon Stone.
Even that moment in the beginning where with the endorsements were just like,
oh yeah, yeah. You know, I was thinking about that too. Like when they come up, I wonder if that serves like the purpose to establish the audience that this is a real thing, or at least if you are not aware of the room, to be like, yes, this is real, or we're pretending that this is real. I guess if you're not aware of it, I guess
it's possible. It's possible.
Like,
there's no other real way to know. I mean, other than hearsay, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's like to give that like the gravitas of like, this is a real thing, and these are really these actors that you know who are funny, who are saying this fake movie is very funny too.
Yeah, yeah.
And even like J.J. Abrams being in there.
I know. I was like, really, they really went out of their way. I love it.
Yeah, it was so crazy. Yeah, the book is very much like Greg's journey. I mean, obviously he wrote it, but it's very like centered on him, and Tommy just kind of like orbits him, and we really connect with him emotionally. But then in the movie, like you were saying, it's much more of like a Tommy movie. It's much more about him. And reading the book, I always felt for Greg. I'm like, Greg, you got wrapped up with this weirdo, and now you're going to be like wrapped up with this movie, but at least you have like a good outlook on it. Whereas in the movie, it's very much, you're like, Tommy is ostracized. Like there's a part where he calls him, what is his name? I think I plays Better Call Saul.
Oh, I know you're talking about when he gets the opportunity.
Yeah,
with the Malcolm in the Middle
like,
guy. Yeah.
Oh my, I can't believe I forget his name.
I never knew.
Bob Odenkirk. There it is.
There you go. Nice.
So he like asks him if he's like a villain. He's like, I see you as like a Frankenstein. And then there's a part in the film, like in the room, where Tommy is doing these like Frankenstein destruction of like the set, and like the entire crew is like turning on him, like, you know, ostracizing him as if he is a monster. And then he becomes this monster. It's like that's a really interesting take on that, and that's something that's not in the book that you don't feel, but the movie makes you feel that, which is really interesting.
I completely agree. It's obviously the value of like I almost wanted to preface that I tried my best to, and honestly, it was really not difficult for me to not try to make comparisons. Oftentimes in like film podcasts or whatever, like people will watch a film that's an adaptation of something because these days it has to be in order for it to get greenlit.
Right.
And they'll try to compare it to the original material, disposing of the fact that each medium is going to highlight different parts of a story. Yeah, and conventional limitations, conventional understandings of like the depth and like the breadth of something, they're just going to change the nature of it. And so I by no means, I love this film, and I by no means kind of compare it to the book material in order to validate it, because I don't think that's helpful or fruitful. But it is interesting to see the creative decisions that they made given the source material.
Right.
And in that way, I completely agree with you, where like the film highlights some of the nuance of Wiseau's character, or like his sort of, I guess his quirks that help bring things full circle as you like get to know him better. And, I even like the film's use of repetition so that you kind of find out what he cares about, what he doesn't care about.
Wait, what do you mean?
In some ways they beat you over the head with it. Like Tommy Wiseau feeling a bit replaced by Mark's girlfriend.
Yes,
and, all of these little things that like were creatively adjusted from the source material that help sort of drive home his whole situation.
Yeah, and I think in the book, and yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. Like the book can't ever be the movie, and the movie can't ever be the book. Like they're just completely different mediums. Like I just saw Ready Player One, and for for the issues that people have with the book and stuff, I think that the movie alleviates a lot of that, but also compounds some of it because it's very like Spielbergian and very movie for the sake of being a movie. But same thing, or like Harry Potter. If you enjoy the Harry Potter films, reading the book will only kind of expand your experience. Whereas if you are only familiar with the book and then go into the movie, you're going to feel very constrained by the choices that they make.
Especially Goblet of Fire.
Right, exactly, yeah.
You're going to be like, what is this?
Yeah, it's like Hermione didn't even
It's like I watched an
elves.
Instagram feed of what happened.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was cool that they kept the James Dean kind of like setup, and it's a really good touchstone for Greg and Tommy's character, because James Dean is this actor who only had a small shelf life. He only got to do a few films, and these guys are kind of emulating that, where they kind of just like burn out after this film. They've done other things, but like they'll only be like James Dean is just known for Rebel Without a Cause, and these guys are just kind of known for this. So it's cool that they kept that parallel from the book to this. I think that's a really good like addition. One thing that was missing from like the book was I really enjoyed those Sunset Boulevard quotes at the start of each chapter. I thought that was a really cool like way to kind of tie the
what is that?
in the book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that would have been a cool thing, but it might just be like too many movie references in a movie about making a movie, Like, and that's what's so interesting about this is the layers of this whole thing. So like you're watching a movie about a movie that's been made, and then they actively make that movie. It's crazy. Like at one point I was thinking about James Franco. So like James Franco has like 3 roles in this. So he's playing Tommy, and then at times he's Tommy playing Johnny, right?
Yeah.
And then there's times where he's Tommy playing director Tommy.
Got it. Yes.
And then there's James Franco, the director, who's directing himself as Tommy, who's directing other people. So like it's crazy the amount of like layers that he would have had to go through for this thing, man.
Yeah.
It's so nuts. I mean, like, what does it say about James Franco, like as a director? Like, why do you think he chose this project? Like, why do you think he connected with this enough?
When I heard production was starting for this, it felt like the most on-brand thing for him to do, because he's so incredibly offbeat, and it felt like a middle-of-the-line subject. It felt like middle-of-the-line subject matter that could either go very well or not well at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I think I saw the teaser that I was like, this is going to do really well. And not even because I'm very good at speculation, but because their angle, in combination with the fact that it being a film about films, in my opinion, in just about every field, the most celebrated things are things that are inside baseball.
Yeah.
Because the people who are pulling the levers relate to it the most. So like, I mean, we see it in the video game community, like games like Undertale are celebrated because it's a video game about video games.
Right.
Like a lot of the most celebrated video games you've seen are about video games, in the same way the artist is celebrated in film, and Birdman is celebrated in film. Like,
there's always that Best Picture nomination that's just like, well, it's just a movie about movies. Like Hugo was won a few years ago, and you mentioned the artist. It's very much like that, and this is definitely definitely that. Yeah. And it's interesting. I really loved that he touched on, especially in light of just like current events, the his whole misconception of like auteur's entitlement, that like all the greats punished their team in order to have something excellent. So if you just like sacrifice everybody's patience with you for your vision, you're doing a good job. Yeah. It's like he has that line where he's like, Alfred Hitchcock terrorized his cast, does that make him a bad man or a great director? You know, like that's,
and they're like, no, he's just an a-hole. Like,
yeah. Yeah, seriously. Oh my God. When he comes out in that scene and he's just like wearing nothing. It was
so
bizarre.
awkward. And oh my gosh, it put flesh on, like, and when he was like body shaming, like, and had no filter, I felt awkward for everybody back in time. Like,
yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Like the anxiety I got watching that scene, and you know what, watching that scene especially was like, wow, this is out of control. Like, and you know, he thinks he's in the right with this whole thing, and but nobody sees it that way. It's got to be like, I think that everyone's kind of been in this situation like that, where you're like, this is what needs to be done, but everyone is kind of like against you, and you don't see that you're being the bad guy in this situation. You just see it from this one like pinhole viewpoint, and that's it.
That's what made the film real for me.
Yeah,
because up until that point, like, it was like cute, and it was not that the film itself was cute, but like Tommy Wiseau's character in his arc was like this cute, like, here's this harmless, very strange guy with a very weird tick. Like, where's this gonna go? Right. And then he starts becoming humanized because you start seeing how his problems manifest itself in weird ways, and you start seeing, oh, this is rooted in this insecurity. And then that's when it became very real for me. That's when I started feeling really awkward, because it's like suddenly his strangeness started to seem feasible. Yeah. And like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And you like, I don't know about you, but like, I like empathize with him for a split second, where he's like, everyone's making fun of me. They're all laughing at me behind my back. I gave them, I almost like slipped into like Tommy talk for a second. Like, I give them opportunity.
Laughing at me.
I give them opportunity. I pay them salary.
I pay them salary.
Yeah. And like, you're like, oh yeah, he is giving these people an opportunity. And so what if the movie sucks? At least these people have a job, and they should just kind of go with whatever he says because he's in charge. But then it's like, oh no, you're being like a real shithead, Tommy. Like, that's not okay.
You know, dude, you know what I wish they did put in? This is such a douchebaggy thing from it. You know what I did wish they put in from the book? I wish they slipped in, because what they say that to this day, we still don't know where Tommy Wiseau is from, where he got his money, But we do have an inkling of where he's from, because were they taking like an acting class together or something like that? And like, it was when the World Cup was going on, and France won, and he was like really excited about it. Yeah, he was really excited about it, and then like Mark told him congratulations, and he was like, thanks. Yeah, and like that sort of like satiated his like inkling, like, Wiseau, like, is he French? Like, what's his deal? You know what I mean? And I thought that was really cool, because it was this one weird moment where like he kind of lets his guard down and doesn't really care, you know?
Yes. Yep. And you kind of get this weird inkling. And then there's a part in the book where he tells this story about Tommy kind of growing up in Europe, and he tells the story about him being in the accident. Right. Like, Greg relates that in a chapter. There's a chapter kind of set up and is talking from this like omniscient point of view, like telling the story about Tommy. But then I'm glad they kind of like took that and gave that to Tommy the character in the movie as like a little like glimpse into, they're like, oh, maybe he was like messed up in this accident, and maybe that's what these like eccentricities are coming from. You know, this eccentricness is coming from that. Or maybe he's just really weird. We don't know.
I mean, that kind of origin story is very interesting to me. I don't know if them including it would. I mean, obviously, I want that kind of stuff to be there, but I don't know if that would take away from the point. I mean, probably, but like, it seemed like that the arc that they focused on was, I guess, I don't know. Like, my takeaway was like, well, I guess there's no wrong takeaway, but it's like, how we get when we have like a cartoonized understanding of fame and success.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I see how that might have gotten away from that a little bit, or not really contributed as much, but it's, I don't know, it still would have been cool.
Yeah, like it would have been interesting to get a little more into that a little bit, but I think it's kind of nice that there's the mystery of it all.
Yeah.
You know, and it ends with that title card that's just like, no one knows where Tommy's from. No one knows where he got the money from. And I'm glad they had that scene with Seth Rogen's character where he goes to cash the check.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And like the teller is just like, this thing is bottomless. Like,
yeah.
Man. Like, is it drugs? Is it just money laundering? What is it?
Yeah.
So interesting.
Don't talk about me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so did you get like, so we talked about like being like kind of like secondhand embarrassed about this. Did you, I don't know if you, this ever happens to you, but sometimes when I watch, movies about, movies falling apart or stress in like a production, I get like crazy anxiety from it, especially
like PTSD.
Yeah. Yes. You think about all the terrible things like you've done about this and you're like, oh God, I did that. That's terrible. Especially like we're getting ready to do this like big, production kind of thing and watching this. And actually I was watching special features from, The Last Jedi, and like there's this documentary on there where Rian Johnson's talking about how he wants to make this. He's excited for this opportunity, but then they interview like 3 or 4 crew members, and they like express their concern that he doesn't know what he's doing, or this is like too big a task for him, and they kind of like lose faith in him. And it was like that combined with this, and it was like, oh my God. Everyone's going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing, and it's going to play out exactly like this. Like when he goes into the rental place, and they're like, oh, we usually rent everything. And he's just like, almost like too embarrassed to, like, that's the cover.
Yeah.
For him to just buy all the equipment, and like to buy all the equipment rather than just be like, oh, yeah, okay, well, that's what everybody else does. I'll do that. I didn't know that, but thank you for telling me, and now we can do that. Instead, it's a complete inverse of that. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I knew that. I'm talking about buying all this stuff. Duh. So crazy.
I even love the link that it reminds me of in the beginning, which I didn't know at all, the whole tearing me apart quote. I didn't know that. Yeah. I don't know.
That he got that from... James Dean kind of thing.
Dean, yeah.
I love that they kept and we call your character Mark, after Mark Damon. Oh, it's so good. I really did like sympathize with Tommy in this in ways that I didn't think that I would, and it was very surprising in that sense.
Which ones grabbed your attention?
It was
like
kind of
which scenes kind of stirred up.
Like I guess that I never kind of put together that the reason Tommy wasn't in LA was because he didn't have a friend to kind of try to make this work with. Like that was kind of like lost in the book, and if it isn't there at all, I'm not really even sure if it is. But the film made me feel like that. It's like, oh yeah, he was too afraid to do it by himself, so he never like took the chance to try to make it or anything. To me,
I was like right away from Mark. I was like, red flag.
Yeah, well, yeah,
because I don't like feeling indebted.
No, totally. Yeah, their relationship is so strange, and even to this day, I still try to like figure out like what made him. Was he just naive, or was Greg just being kind of like opportunistic about it? Like, oh well, this guy can do that. It'll help me, and I'll just deal with the weirdness. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it was probably more opportunistic.
Yeah. And like
that's what I want to believe. What I want to believe is like this bank of patience that he has in the film is probably a bit generous.
Yeah.
And Tommy was a little bit more oblivious.
Right. Yeah, and like their relationship is so odd and like sometimes when you see like a relationship kind of like this, you can be like, oh, there's like homoerotic undertones, but this was just like all kind of out there. Yeah. Like even like the mother especially is alluding to that. And I keep trying to understand where Tommy is coming from. Like, is he attracted to Greg, or is it purely just a friendship kind of thing? Is it just a platonic thing and he just gets jealous the way like you hear like your friend is hanging out with another one of their friends and you're like, oh, why didn't you call me? You know, is it just that, or is it a much more love interest?
So I would be speculating as well. What I liked is that the film kind of squashed it right away, right? Like they put what was ever in everybody's minds out the door when he's like, oh, you don't want to share a bed? Just kidding, you know?
Right, right.
Since this is based on real life, I would wonder, but I have a friend who lives out in California and would always go out to this was a couple years ago when like they would have that, what is it? It's the monthly viewing, and Tommy Wiseau would go to the theater every week and play catch with whoever was outside dressed up in suits and stuff. Yeah. And he said he was he's a huge skeeve ball. Like if there are any girls who goes, he's always like hitting really hard, and it's like really gross, and he's very overt about it. So,
all right, good to know. That makes
sense. So with that information, I think it's just like a really strange friendship, and he just really wants some kind of weird warped version of validation, or I don't know.
Yeah, like I feel like his motivation in the beginning is just kind of like, oh, well, I don't have any friends. Here is someone who has expressed interest, and usually I would imagine he's the one kind of pursuing that, but Greg kind of comes to him and initiates this friendship, and then when Greg through Tommy's eyes rejects him, Tommy takes it as like a slight, and it becomes like vindictive. This scene with like Bryan Cranston with like the shaving of the beard, was that in the book? Like a scene like that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I do not remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember if the thing with if he had to shave, if that conflict, I don't know if that was like.
I think it was just like a beat or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great beat. Yeah, I think it's a really good beat in the movie. I was just trying to remember in the book if that was.
I was like, man, I would have taken it.
Oh yeah, I would have been like, yeah, Tommy, whatever.
You'll get over it.
Yeah, he was just being like really like vindictive at that point.
Yeah.
Can we talk real quick about like the attention to detail that Franco paid the original movie, just throughout the entire thing? I think like the set designer and the DP did such a good job of recreating.
Oh my gosh, did they? Yes. Even like just like the mood of.
Yes.
I can't explain how, but yeah, they recreated everything like tit for tat. I thought it was really cool. Yeah,
like so much so when they put those side by sides up there, I didn't think they were going to do it. I thought they were just going to be like, well, we got it kind of close.
It's close enough, yeah, but it's like really cllose. Like even like the hand gestures are spot on.
Oh my god! And when they're side by side and the dialogue starts to like sync up, and it's so crazy. The camera moves are so spot on. Yeah, like so.
Oh my god! And that small moment where they have the glass with the water running down, he's like, "It's like a waterfall." It's like I just love the idea of reverse engineering this like really like terrible like component of like the sex scene, and like imagining how enamored he must have been with that in order for it to be there.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my god. Yeah, because like I didn't even think about this until just now. Like even when they're watching all of the clips in the theater, like all of the scenes from the movie, like those are new, freshly shot scenes. Like they're not clips from The Room. Like you're seeing you're seeing them like they put together a good chunk of this movie and like recreated it.
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
It's outstanding.
It's almost like a separate project.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like I was hoping when it came out on like home video, like I was hoping that there would be like a full version of the Room, of the whole movie.
Oh, that would be perfect.
You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yes.
I would kickstart the shit out of that project.
No, I would too. I totally wish that they did that.
I mean, the scenes they did are phenomenal. Like, my favorite one is the scene in San Francisco where it's when he goes to buy the flowers, and it's like, "Hi, doggy, you're my favorite customer.
And they know, keep that change." Yeah,
yeah. And like they got this actress.
They got the same lady, right?
No, it's another. Actress.
She looks so close.
Yeah, she's in this show Superstore, and she's so funny. And like I saw her tweet out. Somebody was like, "I'm so glad I saw you in the Disaster Artist." She's like, "Oh my god!" She's like, "I can die happy because I portrayed that lady for the flower show." It's so,
can we talk about like how Nathan For You is in this film, like low key?
Wait, what?
Do you know Nathan? Nathan from the show Nathan For You?
Wait, who? Oh yeah, he's the nerdy guy.
Yes, yeah. He's the nerdy friend
who like falls down, and like
I just loved
the entire cast of The Fake Room is so good. Like Josh Hutcherson from like Hunger Games is Denny, and he's so good. Oh my god!
And freaking Zac Efron.
Oh my god!
Like all these people they're just here. Like
money.
Like they're just here.
Yeah. In the next time you come over, we'll have to watch the making of stuff because Franco,
please, yeah.
Franco talks about that. He's like I wanted to shoot this in LA because I just wanted as many of my friends to be in this as possible. So like Zac Efron was just like there and just pops in to do this to be Chris R. And there's other scenes that they shot that like didn't make it in the movie. So like they did the whole in the room where they're on the rooftop and Denny's like crying. So there's a bunch
I want that.
Oh, dude, it's so good. There's so many takes of Josh Hutcherson just like doing a line and then just busting out laughing. Like they can't get through it. And like there's a couple scenes where there's like a blooper reel and they're talking about how they try to reenact the movie and then just like, you know, so much time is spent like of them just like laughing and trying to like compose themselves.
I couldn't imagine. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
dude, it's so good.
Like I couldn't imagine like just the first few days, like having to like normalize James Franco doing such a good impression.
Well, dude, and he's in Tommy gear and like Tommy prosthetics and like doing the Tommy voice, like directing some scenes. It's out of control.
Yeah.
Did you watch at the very end?
What's at the very end?
There's a scene with part of the Tommy agreeing to let them do it was that he wanted to be in the movie.
Oh, wow, that's a low bar. What's his role? I don't think I see it.
So,
I don't think I saw it.
It's at the very end of the movie, like after the credits, right? So I heard this interview with James Franco, and he's like, part of it was Tommy wanted to be in the movie, and I was like, Tommy, I don't know how I'm going to put you in a movie about you, without it seeming distracting. So they came up with this like sequence where it's like Greg's birthday and they're celebrating on the roof, and James Franco Tommy is just kind of like leaning up against the wall, and this guy comes up who is Tommy but looks kind of like Johnny Depp. He's got like a soul patch and like a Johnny Depp like mustache, and they have this interaction with like, why are you not hanging out with people? Why are you talking to me? Why are you doing this? And they're just like improvising with each other. It's bonkers. it's really surreal.
I have to go back and watch that.
yeah, dude. It's definitely worth staying for that. Oh, and him singing "What Is Love" over the credits.
I'm sorry, what? Yeah. I missed all of this. Clearly, I should have stayed.
Yeah, the credits start and they start playing "What Is Love," and then further down into it, Tommy James Franco. Yeah, it's like, "What is love, baby? Don't hurt." Like over the actual song. It's great. It's really good, man. Yeah, man. I'm so happy that this movie is so good.
Yeah, me too.
It's just a nice companion piece because now you have like the room you can show somebody and get them to enjoy that, and then you can be like, well, here's like the making of this, which is insane, and then for like further reading, they can go back and read the book and really get like the full experience.
Yeah, I feel like the period of time, like I feel like The Room was a cult classic for a good long run. Mm-hmm. Like a good decent amount of time that like maybe you're like listening to a podcast, you're talking with a friend and they're just like, oh, by the by, like there's this show on Netflix and there's this movie on Netflix called The Room, and like it's just this low budget crazy thing. Check it out.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that for years before we started the podcast, and I actually got to watch it.
No, it's so crazy.
And I feel like after that time, it's really cool to see somebody commemorate what feels like a really interesting story. Because, I mean, really on my own volition, I think most of us, like when you first finish watching The Room, you're just like, the first thought that comes to mind is just, how did this happen?
Right. Like this can't be on purpose.
Yeah. And it's great that there's just like a chronicle for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's really nice in the movie too is that I was watching it again last night, and I had this thought of like an interpretation of like the last scene in the movie where they're screening the movie and Tommy runs out because everyone's like laughing at it, and they kind of come back in, and the movie ends and they're chanting Tommy's name, and part of me almost feels like it's a time jump, like
Ooh.
as if they're not in like the first screening of the movie, they're in, you know, they're 10 years
Ooh.
later, and all these people are enjoying it. Like it seems a little ridiculous for the cast who hated working on it so much to be cheering that much. So it's like, it's a nice interpretation of like what has happened over time.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. Cause I was thinking about it, cause you don't really see any of the other cast and crew members. They don't cut back to them after Tommy comes back in. So I was like, I wonder if that's kind of like the method, or the message in that.
That would actually be really cool. I did not know that. That makes me want to go back.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and rewatch it and see if that idea holds up, or if I was just sleepy and tired and made it up.
It's definitely cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I just really, really enjoyed the whole experience. The whole thing. It's like I want to like show more people this and get more people to watch it, just to like really appreciate the craziness that this is.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, man.
So if you haven't seen it and you're like, what are they babbling on about? Go for it.
Yeah. Watch it all. Watch The Room, watch this, read the book.
And if you have seen it and if you're listening and you have seen it, but you haven't seen The Room, please reach out to us on Twitter, Nick Murphy at Hey Nick Murphy, me at Satchell Drakes, and let us know what you think about it as just like a cold call, like not even knowing what the film is like. Do you want to see what The Room is like? Did you think it was fiction? Like, how do you think it held up on its own? Like, I'm pretty curious to know. Yeah,
and how did you feel after watching 3 20-minute sex scenes back to back to back?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thanks for coming along, guys. We really appreciate it. We had a good time, and we'll be back.
Bye.
The Cinephilia Anonymous Telecast is produced by Satchell Drakes and Nick Murphy. Music by Mark Junker. You can hear more of his music at junker.ca. That's JUNKER.ca. You can follow the Telecast on Twitter at CA Telecast, subscribe on YouTube at CA Telecast, subscribe on iTunes, and check out our website, catelecast.com.